Hey, Scott from Aristocob.com here.
And Seth from theshrinkingpastor.com.
And together, the three of us, we are Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. Good morning. Good morning to you, boy.
Good morning, Homer.
It's a chilly 50 degrees here in my shop.
Feels awesome. You know what's not happening? Sweat in places where there should not be sweat. It feels great.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
You and your sweat glands.
So
you may be hearing there's a fan blowing behind the camera, and we got a wood stove going. Just got it lit. So at this point, it's pretty much just smoldering and stinking out the neighborhood. So anyway,
which is what we plan to do now, right?
Correct.
What are we smoking?
We are smoking Newminster 48 Danish Gold. This is one of those many faces of 1Q tobaccos. So this is basically a 1Q emulation, a knockoff of 1Q. Because if you can't smoke 1Q, you might as well smoke a knockoff of 1Q.
No, this one wasn't featured in the Many Faces, was it?
It certainly was.
Okay.
It certainly was, yep. So, good stuff. All right, so this video, we were just chatting and thinking that we're going to talk about some YouTube-related topics here. I just got back from a trip to the West Coast where I was in Portland and Seattle. And while in Seattle, I attended a one-day event called Vlogger Fair, which was kind of interesting.
Wow.
And maybe there's some things to share about that. And there's some big news in the world of vlogging this week. And also just an observation that we had here a day or two ago as we were talking about my experiences, that we realized that really what we do here is kind of sort of a vlog. I mean, it's an episodic show,
Right.
but we certainly ramble quite a bit, as vlogs can do. So anyway, we're just going to call this our vlog episode.
I think one thing that's made us a bit retrospective is this is the start of year 4, and the reality is some things have changed in what we're doing here, and a lot of things haven't changed. And so as we think through some of those and have discussed both sides of that, it's just made us think about what it is we're doing and what we want to be doing moving into the future.
I just inhaled that.
Don't do that.
Something about smoking a church warden is I kind of forget that there's about a good puff worth of smoke residing here, and I expect to have to draw it all the way up, but it's right there. It's like that last suck on the siphon hose where you get a mouthful of gasoline. Wow.
That happens every time I try to inhale while vaping. To do a lung hit, as they say. What ends up happening is there always ends up being, no matter how much I blow out, there ends up being some residual in my mouth. And so when I go to take that next breath, it always gags me out.
I have a solution for that.
What's that?
Don't inhale.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you just got to vape them clouds, man.
Okay. Hold on, I got to choke this down because
clearly you're uncomfortable with that, but you should take comfort in knowing that I'm not very good, which means I don't do it very often.
All right, so big news in the world of vlogging this week was actually over the weekend. Casey Neistat announced that he was ending his daily vlog. For those of you who don't know, Casey Neistat is one of the biggest, most successful vloggers on YouTube for the last about year and a half. And he had been a videographer and had made a lot of videos over the years. He calls them movies. And a couple of them have been huge viral sensations. And he challenged himself a year and a half ago to do a daily vlog. And he basically was trying to teach himself the discipline and the use of the tools that you would need. He's got into using drones quite a bit, and really an appealing vlog. He travels a lot, and so
to a lot of people. My wife doesn't understand why I would spend the time watching.
So anyway, he announced this weekend that he was done, and he had actually kind of been guilty for the last 6 months of playing around with clickbait and the subject of his videos, and so basically his title was "It's Over" or "I'm Done," something like that. And then in the description, it simply said, "No, it's not clickbait." And he announced that he's moving on, that he's going to continue to do videos. That's his career, but that he had accomplished what he had set out to do, which was again to get comfortable with the editing tools, with all the challenges of recording in the street and recording in crowds and recording on the move. He records a lot on his electric skateboard. So anyway, that happened, and last weekend I was in Seattle for Vlogger Fair, and so all that happening in a week was kind of interesting timing for me. So
I bet there were a lot of references to Casey. He has in a year and a half has gone from, I don't know how many subscribers
couple 100,000.
Yeah, surpassed the 5 million subscriber mark. Has hundreds of thousands of monthly views on his videos, and a lot of people have been influenced by his video style. And
if you watch any vlogger and you're not familiar with Casey, go watch any random, just pick one, a Casey Neistat video, and you'll suddenly realize, oh, that vlogger who I watch has actually been doing some of these things.
Right.
In some cases successfully, some cases quite annoyingly.
Right.
There's a particular style that Casey uses that is, you can't mistake it when you see somebody copying him.
And there have been some really interesting, again, I find it interesting, critiques of his videos and how a lot of people try to knock off the style without knocking off the work ethic. So Casey had been putting in hours and hours and hours to record, to edit. There are some videos where he talks about how he'll spend 16 hours in a day between recording and editing
for a 10-minute video.
They're all about 10 minutes long, and so that's one of the things that has led to his great success. And we were talking earlier about how he has been somebody that constantly talks about working hard, constantly talks about doing big things and scary things, and that quitting at what is the peak of his success is very much a Casey Neistat thing to do.
Another scary thing.
Right. And he addresses that. He addresses that. And so, it has caused ripples within the vlogging community because now there's a power void to fill. There's...
Well, and Shay Carl and his family are taking a hiatus from vlogging. I mean, Shay Carl was one of the very first successful YouTube vloggers, and that's weird for them to announce that they're going to take 6 months to a year off.
Prank versus Prank stopped doing their channel, their daily vlogs, because the couple broke up.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of led to some discussion about, in going back to a video that I did recently on the Aristocob channel, which was sparked in part by a conversation or two that I'd had with a few guys off of YouTube about, is the YouTube pipe community dead? And I addressed that saying, no, it's not dead, it's changed.
Right.
It's changed, and so I thought, as part of today's video, we'll talk a little bit about that. First off, let me ask you, do you think the YouTube pipe community's dead?
I have no idea. I think I've been pretty candid about the fact from the very beginning that I enjoy recording these videos, and I enjoy going to shows and meeting people and building some relationships. I enjoy relationships in general, but I have never been really a consumer of pipe-related content. It is a hobby that I enjoy, but not a hobby that I'm really passionate about.
So literally 99% of the pipe smoking that Seth has done in the last 4 years, he's done in front of you.
Yeah. Yep. I don't.
It's kind of funny.
I don't smoke at home. The 1% or even half of a percent are almost always when I'm with this guy at family campfires or sitting. Yeah, so pipe smoking is not I don't have pipes in my house. I think I have one pipe in my house. And that's because I used to work at a place with a warehouse where I smoked probably 5 times in the year and a half.
A place that everybody smokes cigarettes.
Everybody
right?
smokes cigarettes. And so 5 times I joined them in smoking a pipe. And so for me, when I think of the YouTube pipe community, I think of our community here with the 3 of us. And I think of people that I met at
Nashville,
3 or 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago in some cases, at some of the early, for me, pipe shows. Many of those people knew who I was because he talked about me on his Aristocob channel. And so, I developed some relationships before we ever started filming, or we ever started shooting videos. And so when I think of the YouTube pipe community, there are people that I think of fondly, because those are the people that I know, because I know them, not because I watch their videos. That said, knowing those people, I know that many of them are not as active on YouTube anymore. They've moved to other platforms. They've moved to a different stage in their life and their relationships. Statistically, we can only maintain 150 deep, meaningful relationships as humans. Yeah.
Wow.
But, so with all of these social media, all of this other stuff, it's limiting. You have more Facebook friends. Most of us have more Facebook friends than we can have meaningful relationships. We have almost 8 times more subscribers on YouTube than we can have meaningful relationships. And so...
but we have one with you.
That's right.
Be clear.
That's right. And so, I don't really know what happens in the YouTube pipe community. But I know that a lot of the people that were very active in filming are not as active anymore.
Yeah, I think one of the questions from the folks that were around, let's say 5 years ago and earlier, and they're the ones that bring up the question, is the YouTube pipe community dead? Or people that maybe were lurking back in those days and have seen a change, asking, hey, where'd everybody go? Is it dead? There has been a change in the style and a change in the way folks interact on YouTube. Let me explain this in another way. When we started homeschooling our daughter, that first 6 months, we kind of dedicated a space specifically to the homeschool. We put in a whiteboard. We got a map of the world and put that up on the wall. And we made a very specific place for her to sit and do work, and a very specific place for my wife to sit and do work. And this little corner of the house was now the classroom. And I say 6 months. Actually, in much shorter time than that, we realized that the reason why schools have that kind of structure is teachers are having to manage 30 and 40 kids, and you need them to sit in straight rows and in tables and chairs. That's not necessary when you're homeschooling. You can structure your space any way that works for the kid. Well, I think the early days of YouTube, in the YouTube pipe community, a lot of us were emulating what we saw on television. So there were skits, and there were props, and there were scripts. People really knew what it was they were going to say. I think that Jay, Dighsx, in his life cycle of a YouTuber, or life cycle of a pipe presenter, I think is what he called them. A wonderful video that if you haven't seen, and if you are a YouTuber, I would suggest you watch it. One of the things he talked about was the importance and need for us to respect each other's time. You got somebody who's sitting and hitting the play button, and they're expecting that these next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes is going to be worth the investment of their time. And so as time has gone on, people who spend a lot of time developing and editing and making music and all those things found that it was such a challenge that they started doing fewer and fewer videos. And then some of them, as you said, found other platforms, other releases. My gosh, have you seen the Smoking Pipeliners Instagram videos lately? Tade. Tade does the most entertaining videos on YouTube when he does YouTube videos, but he's been doing these what does he call them? I don't even know what he calls them. But basically, 1 minute video on Instagram, and of course answering that burning question, what is Tade smoking?
Nice.
And as always, Tade is over the top and very entertaining. And I get more out of that 1 minute than I often get out of if I spend 15 minutes watching Markwood Men's Breakfast Club.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, I think there's also, I think that it's one of those things where fatigue sets in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about how we are bad pipe presenters, and bad tobacco reviewers.
Oh yeah,
and
terrible.
In our earliest videos, it was because we were totally ignorant, and
I was a smoker, but I wasn't an educated smoker.
Right. Hence ignorant, not stupid, but
right.
But
I
ignorant.
get you.
Just, okay.
I get you.
All right.
Hearing your noise.
I mean, no offense.
No offense taken. Sure.
A little bit, I think. And so, we were not the people who would be educating you on tobacco blends and talking about all of that stuff. But
I'm picking up a slight hint of Virginia grown on a western hillside in Virginia.
yeah,
Just outside of Galax, I believe. That's not us.
right. But even the people that do that, how much can you talk about that? How much can you critique individual tobaccos? First of all, before you have had so many of them that they kind of start to blend together a little bit. And there are people that are much better at tasting different.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are.
Some people that are just spectacular at
Yep.
that. But then once that part is done, what else is there? And we sometimes struggle in our episodes when we record with really where we struggle now is on talking about the tobacco and the smoking. It's just something that we do while we talk about other things that are interesting to us.
Yeah.
And so, as far as being a part of the pipe community, as far as being part of the YouTube pipe community, the only thing that separates that, I don't know, that gives us that distinction is that we smoke a pipe, we smoke tobacco, and a lot of the people that still watch our videos or subscribe to our videos are people that also smoke pipes and tobacco.
So, I mean, we did that survey a few months back. The one question we didn't ask anybody is, why do you watch this channel?
Well,
are you a pipe smoker, and then what do you get out of this?
Right. Well, Markwood Men's Breakfast Club didn't do a survey.
That's true.
Aristocob did a survey, and the people that watch that could be very different. The things you talk about, you do talk more pipe related things.
Absolutely.
And so, one of the things that we have discussed of late is, for your sake, so that we are not wasting too much of your time, would you like to see more of a focus back on pipes, tobacco?
But I'm not sure that we can do that.
Why?
Even if they say yes, what are we going to do?
There have been times that we have talked about tobacco a little bit, tried different tobacco. It used to be.
I mean, we do during Tobacco Advent for sure, but
it used to be for about 2.5 years we smoked a different tobacco every week,
right?
And talked about it a little bit, and some other things is we've never talked about. I don't know what your level of pipe interest is or pipe smoking is. We've never talked about how to pack a pipe, how to.
I have never talked about how to pack a pipe.
Neither have I.
With the exception of flakes, the pinch, poke, and twist method that I created.
Yeah.
But as far as everyday loading 1Q into my pipe, I have in neither channel ever done that video. I figure it's been done to death, but then at the same time,
Maybe.
I wonder if I should do that on my channel, because if somebody's watching my channel and is looking for that content,
right. You know, or so we're posing the question. I think is what this is bringing us to, right at the beginning, right at the precipice of Tobacco Advent, and Happy Thanksgiving tomorrow, by the way. As we're about to enter into Tobacco Advent, we are seriously considering what the future of this channel needs to be. We're going to keep recording. We're going to keep hanging out, and we're going to keep smoking our pipes because we enjoy that part. But what interests you? Why do you watch? Would you like to see more information about tobacco, vaping, some of that stuff we've talked about in the past? Is that an interest? Or do you just not care and just interested in whatever and come to hang out? We like that too.
I like it when we have a topic that we want to discuss, and I would absolutely encourage anybody in the comments to say, I'd like to have your thoughts on this.
Yep.
Right? There's only a couple topics that I consider taboo, not that I don't have an opinion, but my opinion does not need to be voiced in a situation where, you know, I'm selling corncob pipes. I could lose customers taking a stand on politics, for example. I could have just lost 50% of my customers.
Just by saying the word politics. Way to go.
Just by... Well, you know, I was in Portland and Seattle when the election came in. That was an interesting time.
That. So I guess what we're saying is, why do you watch? And what would you like to see?
Good question. Good question.
What would you like to see? And, you know, not... the other thing that brings it up is Tobacco Advent is coming up in a week and a half. And we have talked to some people. We've had some people show interest in sharing some tobaccos with us. And we had asked for your least favorite tobacco, if you'd like to share two...
Enough for two small
pipes worth. We'll send you a cornament. It's a Christmas holiday tradition, but typically by this point we would have received some tobacco and had more interest than we've had.
Because typically what we'll do is we'll record like the first 10 or 12 of those before December 1st.
Right.
Because we've received tobacco.
Yep.
Haven't received tobacco one.
Right.
Several people have mentioned that this sounded interesting because not only are they going to send us something that they don't care for and get it out of their cellar, but also we asked for them to do a quick video that we could incorporate into our daily video. I think it's a neat idea and a great way to involve you, but like I said, nobody's followed up yet.
And that's okay.
It's worrisome, right? I mean, I don't want to have to go and buy some of the tobaccos I don't like.
Right. Right. And that's okay. You know, if our idea falls flat this year,
this is
fine.
our channel, our show, right?
We're still. I think we're still going to record videos, and we'll still have questions and things just like before. But you know, the level of interest seems less than it has in past years, which again making us reconsider and think through. Are we still a part of the YouTube pipe community? And what do we do? How can we make this better for you?
You know, the other YTPC is the pagan community. Maybe we could just start talking to those folks.
Yeah.
I'm smoking a wizard today.
Hey. Smoking a wizard is something else entirely in a different community, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. My eye appointment tomorrow's at 4:20. I giggled a little bit. All right, let's wrap this up.
Yep.
Appreciate your thoughts, appreciate your input. We'd love to have you participate in Tobacco Advent. Throw me an email. I find that people are struggling with the whole YouTube messaging because YouTube kind of hides that information. If you want to find either of our personal message within YouTube, just click on About, go to our channel and click on the About tab. And there's a link there where you can send a message. But the problem is, when I reply back, I think other people don't get their messages.
Right.
So feel free to email me at aristocob@gmail.com. That is not the email to inquire about your orders and things like that. That's a whole other email address because my wife takes care of all of that as much as I travel. But for discussing things like Tobacco Advent, we can do that through aristocob@gmail.
Cool.
So,
All right. Thank you.
thanks for joining us. Make it a great week, and happy Thanksgiving.
Later.